Welcome to the Sports Show. I'm Andy Marks.
And I'm Byron Saucer.
Well, we got 2 more weeks of regular season. For most of our teams around here, it's only 1 week.
Yeah.
We have a load of meaningful games, and that's because I looked up and down the roster. There's only one team in Marion County, that would be the Westport Wolfpack, that is not playing for some type of postseason implication.
Absolutely.
And even Westport can hang their hats on some positive things that have happened this year. But let's get to the slate of football games because there's a lot of big ones. None bigger than over at Booster Stadium, where a pretty good rivalry between Bellevue and Vanguard is taking place. And for the first time in a few years, it is more important for the Knights than it is for the Rattlers.
Yeah, a rivalry in one sense, I guess. Of course, when one team has won the last 9 in a row, it becomes less of a rivalry, which is what the Rattlers have done to Vanguard. This year, it looks to be a different deal. It looks like Vanguard comes in as the hot team. They're 1-1 in district. They win paired with a North Marion win, and we got it. It's North Marion and Vanguard at that point. After that, it gets really fuzzy. Bellevue can win or lose and still play their way in. Andy, can you explain it to me?
There's a lot of different scenarios. I think one thing we can rest on is that the 2 things that you suggested, a Vanguard win and a North Marion win, I think those things should happen. Now, Eastside and Bellevue are both going to be live underdogs. I do like the Knights at home, though. They have won the games they're supposed to win this year. You look at the records, you look at the common opponents and things like that. Vanguard's had a better year. I like their weapons a little bit more. Quentin Hitchcock is really emerging at quarterback. Leo Burgess has had a huge year. Takeem Platt is a dangerous receiver. And, of course, P.J. Williams is a big-time special teams threat. So, I mean, Bellevue has history on their side. I don't think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with 35-7 for Vanguard, and that would, with the North Marion win, put the Knights in the playoffs, which, once again, it's amazing that we're talking about that. Anybody who saw Vanguard last year go 0-10 and really get blown out most of the time, hard to imagine that 1 year later they'd be where they are.
Indeed. I'm also going to take the Knights 27-13. I think if they can ride Leo Burgess, that would be their best recipe. You know what I mean? Just pound Bellevue, who's had a trouble stopping the run, and stop the run themselves. I think they can take care of business.
Okay, so let's move on to the aforementioned game at Stan Toole Memorial Stadium in Spar. North Marion gets Eastside. We had this game circled on the calendar before the season started because these are 2 perennial powers that are always up and down the roster, good athletes. Maybe hasn't been the case with Eastside this year. No,
you're right. On paper, it's not the showdown we expected, but it still has the same postseason implications. The Colts need to win it to win their amazingly 7th straight district crown against some new opponents this year. North Marion seems to rise to the occasion. The one thing that kind of jumps out at me here is although Eastside's 3-6, they did beat that Buchholz team 21-10 early in the season, the same Buchholz team that took North Marion down to the wire, and you were out for that one.
That's right, and Eastside, I should say, has had some other impressive performances. They played an 11-point game with Godby, who's always a good team last week. They darn near beat Gainesville High, which is most people's idea of a very dangerous and state-ranked playoff type of team. So this is a program this year that, despite their record, is no stranger to strong opposition, and they've carried a lot of those games down to the wire. It's not a game that, even though it's an 8-1 team against a 3-6 team, not a game that North Marion can take for granted. I do think they know that, though. I'm rolling with the Colts here, and I'm going to say it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to go with 42-7.
Wow, and that's certainly possible if the Colts come in focused, and I think they will. I got a little tighter score. I'll go 28-17.
All right, so let's move on. Denellen, it's not to say that they don't have playoff aspirations, but this game does not have them. And that's because Denellen already took care of their business.
Yeah, Denellen's the one who all the intrigue has been taken out for sure. Last week they sewed it up. I know they would like to send those seniors out on senior night. Also, they could complete an amazing 7-0 district run in that big league over there. And also, the other thing we'll be looking at is Bubba Black needs a shade under 300 yards to break the 2,000-yard barrier in the regular season. Of course, he's assured of at least one playoff game after that, taking sights at Alvin Young's 2,217 yards, which is the county record set back in '79 at Denellen. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned the seniors. It's a good senior class this year, led by Bubba Black. He's had an incredible 3 years of rushing for the Tigers. Can he get 300 yards against Leesburg? I don't know. Leesburg's a live opponent here. They've played some good games against good teams. I think Denellen's the better team. I'm taking Denellen by a 28-7 score, but this is not probably Bubba Black for 300 yards type of game. He's good enough to do it, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and we'll get a little side bet going here. I got Bubba Black breaking the 2,000-yard mark. Leesburg is good offensively. Defensively, a lot of trouble stopping anybody. I think Frank Beasley gets his Bubba Black, his senior, the ball 25, 30 times. I think he gets the 300, and I think Dunellen gets the win, 34-20.
That would certainly be something that all the fans out there would enjoy watching. Fans have another exciting game to think about up at Citizens Field in Gainesville. Could be the game of the week right here. Lake Weir in the midst of maybe its best season ever. They've got a crack for the district championship at Gainesville High School. We talked about them. It's a ranked team in Class 4A, and they're good. They beat Trinity in the first game of the year. It's just period. It's a quality team. Lake Weir has had one such test this year. They have a lot of nice wins. They stepped up and played one hands down playoff caliber state ranked type of team. That was North Marion. That was a home game for the Hurricanes. North Marion handled them pretty easily. It was a 45-6 score. Yeah. So they're going to have to do something different tonight. I don't know what will it be.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right. That was I would say the Gainesville has played the tougher schedule as we look up and down the schedule. The thing that worries me about Lake Weir in this one is the same thing that worried me against North Marion. Fast, athletic, physical front seven. And I think we got the same thing here with Gainesville, including the middle linebacker there in the middle that's headed to Miami. I think those kind of guys can kind of fence Curry in a little bit. And I'm going to take the Purple Hurricanes here, 28-21.
Yeah, I think they'll employ a similar strategy that North Marion did. They're going to try and keep Tracy Curry in the box. He's still good enough to hurt you. He can pass the ball as well as run the ball. I think that Lake Weir probably will also use that North Marion game to set a counter strategy in case that happens. I don't know. You mentioned some of these guys on Gainesville's defense. These are guys that are good enough to create sort of a pocket for Tracy Curry to function within as opposed to letting him run wild. I'm just on a whim. I'm going to take the Hurricanes here. They're the kind of the good karma team of the year.
Sure.
They have a nice competitive defense themselves, as they've shown in recent weeks, getting all over opposing quarterbacks. So it's going to be a close game, I think. I don't see another 45-6 happen. You like the Gainesville team in a close one. I'm going to take the other Hurricanes, the Lake Weir Hurricanes, in a close one, 21-20.
And I think you make a good point about Lake Weir. Not only is it a terrific story, I mean, 8 wins coming into this week is phenomenal, but and a shot at a district crown. But the defense, I think you're right. Over the last month, the defense has really kind of taken another stride forward, and they could be the difference tonight. If they can shut down that Gainesville offense, which is not crazy explosive, they should be right in this thing. So we'll see.
Okay, so in that same district, we have a game between two also-rans, Westport and Lecanto. That's over at Lecanto. Two programs that really want this win. Both of these teams have beaten Central, who's also in that district. Both of them would like to think that they are better than the other. It should be interesting.
It should be. And, I mean, this one, as you say, this is all about pride here. These two teams have no postseason aspirations at all anymore, but they can stay out of this. In this 16 district, it breaks down kind of like the bottom two, the middle two, and the top two. We talked about the top two. And this is a game to stay out of that bottom down there with hapless Brooksville Central. And I don't know, Andy, this is another one we're going the other way on. I'm going to take Lecanto strictly because they're at home.
Yeah, it's a good game to go with the home team. I think it's going to be an excited group of people over there because all these parents and fans are looking to watch their football team win. Westport had Central. They had Umatilla Games as Circle. We can win this game. And they've had Lecanto Circle too. So, there's going to be some emotion over there, even though there are not playoff implications. I don't know. The times that Westport has played beatable teams, their defense has rose to the occasion. I think you saw the Umatilla game. I think it was the defense that made the biggest of the big plays in that game. When they played Central, did they shut them out?
They did, with 3 different defensive touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay, so I like the Westport defense here. I'm going to go with a 21-7 score. A third win would be a wonderful little bit of icing on the cake for Lyle Livingood in his first year over at Westport High School. This is a basketball coach that took over football in an emergency situation. 2-3 district West record, 3 wins overall would be a great, great season for that school. I think they've had a pretty good season anyways. So let's move on. Trinity, their district drama is not over yet, but I think it will be over this week. I'm looking for an easy win out of the Celtics.
Yeah, I am too. And you're right, though. If they lose, they could fall into a 3-way tie with Mount Dora, their opponent Friday night. and Newberry, who's always around. And they don't need that. Nobody needs that extra tiebreaker where you have to show up on Monday and play this round-robin one-quarter deal. I don't think it'll be necessary, but it is a possibility. The Celtics have to keep their focus going into this one. I think they will. They have been just dominating the last month of this season, so I think they'll continue this. Tough road game, though. Mount Dora has certainly improved, coming in at 5-3, 3-1 in the district. So it won't be as easy as years past, but I think Trinity gets it done by 3 or 4 touchdowns anyway.
Yeah, I like the Celtics in a big win. I'm actually going to say 42-0, and that's not to knock Mount Dora, which is a winning football program. Trinity has just been that good. John Brantley last week in a breeze of a situation against Umatilla, he really did it right. He didn't give Kedrick Rhodes the ball 20 times. We could rush for 350 yards, right, which he would have. He played his young kids. I think the reward for some of these older guys that have been around for a few years, like Rhodes and like Boone, might just come this week in this game. I think we might see some nice offensive nights from those guys. Again, 42-0. I don't want to harp on it too much because I think Trinity is going to have their way. Now, Forest is looking up at their opponent kind of in the same way that Mount Dora is looking up at Trinity. This is a game that Forest goes over to Jacksonville to face Orange Park, and they're going to be a big underdog.
Oh, yeah, this number 4 team in 6A, and Orange Park has just absolutely been dominating opponents, including the Sandalwood team that beat Forest a couple of weeks back, held them to, 38, 40 yards of total offense. Well, Orange Park beat them 42-7, so that's certainly a red flag. However, Forest season isn't over. I mean, it looked like it was that night, but David Hodges and his staff have not stopped coaching out there, and they know they have a chance. And they don't even have to beat Orange Park necessarily. If they can get Mandarin to beat Sandalwood, that would, create the 3-way tie there at the bottom for the runner-up spot. Forest, unlike Trinity, would love to find themselves in a 3-way tiebreaker.
Absolutely. It would mean a lot to those kids, and they have good athletes over there. They had a real bad, I've said this every week, they had a real bad break in week 1. They lost their senior quarterback. That's so hard for a program to overcome. Forest still had some high points this year, and they could still have more if they can either get that huge upset or see the other game have a lesser upset with the Mandarin win. Then they'd be playing in that scenario, I think, in one of those crazy 3-team shootouts. But just speaking from the part of this particular game at Orange Park, I don't see Forest challenging in this one. I think it's going to be an easy 4-touchdown type of win for Orange Park.
Yeah, the good news for Forest is they did have a bye week, so they've had 2 weeks to get ready for this team, and we wish them the best.
Yep, so let's move on. St. John Lutheran, a team that has put together quite a turnaround this season. They looked like they were really struggling in the early part of the year. All of a sudden, they're blowing out a different team every week, it seems like. This First Academy team is probably not as good as a couple of their most recent wins, so I'm looking for the Saints to roll.
Yeah, absolutely. You say they've won 3 in a row handily the last 3 weeks. I think they'll add a 4th to that. I think they roll through the SSAC North, and they'll face the winner of Carrollwood Day, Canterbury, the following week in the Sunshine State Athletic Conference Championship.
That was God calling to say that you made a nice pick there, Byron. Congratulations.
Nice.
So let's move on. OCA, like St. John, OCA is going to have a conference championship game.
Yep.
Theirs is this week. St. John's won't be till next week. OCA is no stranger to the Landmark Christian team that they're going to be playing, and OCA can also wrap up a perfect. You got to say, I don't know their history all that well. I can't imagine they've had a better year before than they're having this year. I'm looking for that to happen. What about you?
Yeah, I think the same thing. Although, I tell you, this is the team they should be playing, this Landmark Christian team. They only beat 27-7. Now, if you look up and down, 440-67, OCA has outscored opponents this year, which is just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But, this one was 27-7 in the first meeting. I think Landmark will play them very tough again. All that being said, I think the Crusaders get it done. The difference is, no matter what, at any point they can get it to Moreland on the edge or Jabril Stewart right up the gut, and those guys can take it the distance. So I like the Crusaders.
Really quick, we've talked about T.J. Moreland all year long because he's had so many touchdowns, but you had a chance to watch them, and you were impressed by Stewart, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, he really looks the part. Moreland is a speed guy, no question. He wants to get to the edge, and nobody in this league can catch him once he does. Stewart now is a different breed. He's in the middle, playing linebacker, very physical middle linebacker in there, and then can pound the football. And he's got wheels of his own. So, I mean, he looks like the real deal, a kid who could play at the next level. So we got another year of watching Jabril. T.J. Moreland is 25 touchdowns coming into this, which is just, it leads the county. So, on very few touches. So.
It's a lot of points. So once again, tune into Ocala.com Friday night. There's big games everywhere. You can only watch one at a time, and we will tell you the scores and the touchdowns and things like that from all the others. I'm entering this last full slate of games with a 1-game lead over you. We have 2 games that we picked opposite. So tune in early next week, and we'll see where we stand. And until then, enjoy the football.